Hello, everyone. Welcome to an all-new episode of On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale. I want to thank you all for tuning into the new episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. Today, I am breaking down a double murder, a double shooting that happened in 2020 in Port St Lucie. Today's crime involves a dog. Now, I am a dog lover. I love all dogs, whether they are beagles, basset hounds, Labradors, Doberman Pinschers, or German Shepherds, or any aggressive dog. I love all dogs. But I also know that some of the more aggressive breeds like pit bulls and Rottweilers and German Shepherds can attack humans, and they can cause significant damage to humans. And these owners of these aggressive dogs, 9 times out of 10, they should be held legally responsible. Now, I personally have been impacted and affected by an aggressive dog. I lost my 10-year-old Lhasa Apso when he was attacked by a couple of shepherds. So I know firsthand how aggressive dogs act and how aggressive dog attacks can traumatize you and impact you and ruin your lives. On the other hand, I am a dog lover. And most dogs can be trained to be gentle, loyal, and loving dogs. So most of the blame for dog attacks I put on the owners. Anyway, today's case centers around an aggressive dog that attacked our victim, and the owner of that aggressive dog was a delusional nutcase. He was 82 years old with dementia. He shouldn't even have been living in public. He should have been in a nursing home. And he went psychotic because he got forced to pay a $500 fine for his aggressive dog. And the judge ordered him to put up an aggressive dog sign on his property. So he went nuts. He went and grabbed a gun, and he went and did a double murder, shooting the victim's husband and their 11-year-old daughter and killing them. A very, very sick, twisted, and horrible crime I'm going to talk about today. And as a dog lover, it's not easy for me to talk about this case because while the dog is 75% to blame, it can also, 25% of the blame also goes to the owners. So like I said, today's crime takes place in Port St Lucie, Florida in 2020. A dog attack sparked a series of events between neighbors that resulted in the death of a father and an 11-year-old girl. I can never condone shooting someone as young as 11 years old. That is sick. How can a dog attack escalate to shooting? Let's find out right now. Also, feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts on this case. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And let's start by learning what there is to know about this case. And in this particular case, I'm going to tell you about the victims and the perpetrators of this case. So let's start with the victims. The victims are known as the Hansman family. And let's take a look at the picture of the gentleman and his 11-year-old daughter that were murdered and shot to death in this case. This is a picture of the victims, the Hansman family. Guy Hansman was the man that was shot and killed, and that 11-year-old girl there, her name is Harper, and she was shot and killed in this crime. So here is some information about the victims. A Long Island native, Guy Alexander Hansman, was married to Monique, who was his childhood sweetheart since they were only 15 years old. They settled in Port St Lucie in Florida and raised two boys before adopting two other kids, Harper and Patrick. At the time of the incident, the 55-year-old patriarch lived with Monique, 11-year-old Harper, and Patrick. Guy and Monique previously worked as retail managers, and Harper was a student at Morningside Elementary School in Port St Lucie. She wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. And I think she would have been a great doctor because her last day on earth, while it was very tragic and sad, her last moments were also very heroic. And we're going to find that out later on in the show. So the Hansman family were next door neighbors to Ronald and Sandra Delserro. At first, they had a great neighborly friendship. Everything was going well. The Delserros even played with the Hansman family dog. The Delserros eventually got a big bully mastiff dog that was a very aggressive dog, and that is when things went south. Things went south when Ronald and Sandra got a bull mastiff, and that dog was a really aggressive terror, and it damaged the relationship that the Hansman family had with them. So let's learn about the perpetrators now. Here is a picture of Ronald Delserro. He is an 82-year-old man who suffers from, he suffered from dementia. So Robert suffered from dementia and he had access to guns. That's a winning combination, right? A guy that is delusional, has dementia, and is a threat to the community, is out in public. He has access to his guns, and he has this aggressive dog. He's just an overall threat to society. He should have been in a nursing home. This would have never happened if he was living in a nursing home. Anyway, Robert Delserro was 82 years old. He was deranged and he suffered from dementia. Robert still had access to guns, even though he suffered from dementia. Now, Ronald and Sandra, as we know, eventually got a bull mastiff. So the detectives in this case discovered that part of the backstory to Ronald Delserro's shooting rampage may have been long smoldering resentment of Guy Hansman's father and Harper Hansman's grandfather, Larry Hansman's considerable stature in thoroughbred racing as first a renewed jockey and later a well-respected racing judge. So detectives think he had resentment for Guy's father and Harper's grandfather because he was very successful and he was a well-respected racing judge. Also, Ronald, after making millions of dollars building horse tracks in Pennsylvania, lost millions of dollars investing in racehorses. The four Delserro horses won 50 races in 7 years. But on March 18th, 1996, the most successful Delserro horse, Ascension, tested positive for doping with a drug called etterphine, a semi-synthetic opioid also known as elephant juice. This episode ended the racing careers of both Ronald Delserro and trainer David Montesini, who had also served a previous suspension for doping horses before Delserro hired him. So that's some background information on the perpetrator, Robert Delserro. Now, that's background information on the victims and the perpetrator of this case. Let's learn about the dog attack that really initiated the crimes that happened on July of 2020. So, the dog attack. The dog was named Roxy, who was owned by neighbors Ronald and Sandra Delserro, 82 and 70 years old, respectively. Roxy was also alternately described in police and court documents as a bull mastiff and an Italian mastiff, a term also used to describe cane corsos and Neapolitan mastiffs. Whatever Roxy was, she was a big, powerful, notoriously ill-behaved dog who was in the act of attacking Rocca, the Hansman family's leased labradoodle, when Monique Hansman intervened. So Roxy, this dog that was owned by Ronald and Sandra Delserro, attacked the neighbor's dog, which is named Rooka, which was a labradoodle. And as I know dogs very well, labradoodles are very gentle animals. They're very loving dogs. So I am really confident that the labradoodle did not initiate this attack. I fully believe it was Roxy, the bull mastiff, that started this attack and should be held accountable for this attack. So Monique Hansman testified later in court that Roxy bit her arm and ear, inflicting a gash to her head, for which she was treated at St. Lucie Medical Center. Here's some more information on the dog attack. On the morning of March 4th, 2020, Monique was walking her son's poodle mix when Roxy, who wasn't leashed, started to go after the dog, according to an animal control report. According to Monique, she tried to break the two dogs up, but was attacked too, ending up with a bite on her arm and a gash in her head. As a result, animal control began investigating whether Roxy should be deemed a dangerous animal, and they asked the Delserros to keep her quarantined for 10 days. So keeping her quarantined means keeping her inside, away from other animals, away from humans, so that it would never attack another human or another animal again. So basically it means that Roxy had to be inside at all times for 10 days. But the Delserros did not follow that order. However, the Hansmans reported the family for violating the quarantine order, leading to the dog being removed from the house. So when animal control came by and saw the dog on the loose, they took it. While Roxy was returned on March 17th, things didn't change too much, with the Hansmans finding the dog outside and without a leash several times, leading to another call to the authorities. Now, just days and weeks before the tragedy that we're going to talk about, the crime, on June 24th, 2020, Monique and Harper testified at a hearing regarding the same, and the judge ruled against the Delserros, deeming Roxy a dangerous animal. That ruling came with special conditions, and the Delserros were asked to pay a fine. On July 1st, Animal Control delivered the Delserros with the final paperwork regarding Roxy's status. While Sandra signed the documents, Ronald didn't. Then, days later, the crime occurred, the tragedy occurred, and the bloodbath occurred. The paperwork stated that the Delserros needed to pay a $500 fine and put a dangerous dog sign up. That's all they had to do. Pay the $500 fine and put a dangerous dog sign up. It basically was a slap on the wrist for them because this dog attacked the Hansman's family dog, caused serious injury to Monique, which resulted in several $1,000 hospital visit bills, and all the Delserros had to do was pay a $500 fine and put a dangerous dog sign up on their property. But instead, a delusional, a deranged dementia victim, 82 years old, who, like I said, belongs in a nursing home, not out in public, went off. He had a mental explosion and it sent Ronald over the edge, and he did the unthinkable, which is this crime we're going to talk about right now. It really is a sad crime when you think about it because an 11-year-old girl lost her life. So let's talk about the horrific day on July 6, 2020, the crime. So at around 12:24 p.m. on July 6, 2020, the authorities received a 911 call regarding an active shooter at a residence in Port St Lucie. It was the Hansman home. By the time the dust settled, Guy was found shot multiple times in the garage. On the other hand, Harper was shot through the heart and was rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately she succumbed to her injuries. And Harper was a 11-year-old girl. Very, very sad. The weapon used was a 9mm handgun. The authorities learned that the shooter was the Hansman's neighbor, Ronald Delserro, who lived next door with his wife, Sandra. The two families got along well initially, but trouble started when the Delserros brought Roxy, a bull mastiff. As we know, on the morning of March 4th, 2020, Monique was walking her son's poodle mix when Roxy, who wasn't leashed, started to go after the dog, according to an animal control report. According to Monique, she tried to break the two dogs up, but she was attacked also, ending up with a bite on her arm and a gash in her head. The investigation revealed that Ronald walked up to the Hansman residence with two 9mm handguns and first killed Guy, who was in the garage. At that time, Harper, Monique, and Patrick were inside along with the kid's tutor and one of Harper's friends. According to Monique, Patrick heard the shots, saw Ronald, and shouted about it, alerting Monique. While the three got out, Harper and her friend were still left upstairs. Harper heroically called 911 to report the shooting from inside the house. I have to commend Harper for having the state of mind to understand that there is a emergency going on at 11 years old. She had the strength and the bravery to call 911 and speak very patiently to the 911 operator. And I often feel terrible for the 911 operator because she had to deal with Harper's last moments on that 911 call. But she must also feel some proudness also because she realized she was witnessing the heroicness of Harper. Monique later stated that her daughter was able to distract Ronald enough for her young friend to escape. So Harper caused a distraction to allow Harper to run away. According to the police, at one point during the kidnapping, as Harper tried to run away, Ronald shot her from behind, killing her. Unfortunately, a bullet went right through her chest, and when you get shot in the chest, you literally have zero chances of survival. Well, I'll just say you have like maybe 10% chance of survival since I'm not a doctor. But unfortunately, Harper was young and she got shot in the back and a bullet went through her chest and she lost her life. She tried to fight Ronald, and when Ronald wasn't looking, she bolted for the stairs, and Ronald saw that and shot her and killed her, unfortunately. But as she fell, she was picked up by, or she was caught by a police officer who rushed her to the hospital in the ambulance, and unfortunately, she didn't make it. That's the very sad thing about this crime. Once the authorities entered the house, Ronald Delserro fired at them. The investigation revealed that the neighbor of the Hansman family fired 22 shots from his two 9mm handguns. So Ronald Delserro was prepared to do a massacre that day. 22 shots from his two guns. An officer was injured in the process. He was hurt in the arm and the chest with the same round, but didn't have any fatal injuries due to his bulletproof vest. At around 3:01 p.m. on July 6, 2020, a SWAT team entered the house and found Ronald in Harper's bedroom on the second floor. The 82-year-old died from what appeared to be a self-inflicted wound to the chest. Sandra told the police that her husband had been dealing with depression and dementia. But that's still no reason to kill an 11-year-old girl and her father because you're depressed and you have dementia, and because your aggressive dog initiated this attack by attacking the Hansman's family dog and injuring Monique. All you had to do, Ronald and Sandra, was pay the $500 fine and put an aggressive dog sign on your property. The dog who was the center of all this, Roxy, was euthanized the day after the incident. So that is the crime. Imagine breaking into somebody's house, invading their house, shooting and killing a father and an 11-year-old girl, all because you had to pay a $500 fine and put a simple sign up saying that you have an aggressive dog. That is sad and tragic, and I can't imagine how I would feel if I was family of the Hansman. How would I feel? I would be sad to learn that some sick, twisted old man who should already have been dead, sorry to say that, but he should have already been dead before this happened. Shout out to Jeffrey, who was in the house. Hey, man, how are you? Thank you so much for watching. Back to work. I hope you have an amazing night, my friend. I hope you do as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, after the crime, Monique Hansman, in the weeks after, said, "Why is it that when I called my city officials for months, mayor's office, city attorney, animal control, and police, and told them how dangerous the Delserros and their dog Roxy were, they did nothing. Monique would also go on to say, why is it that the dog caused me to have a $22,000 hospital bill and a $1,000 vet bill, a combined $23,000 bills, but everyone feels sorry for their dog? No, don't feel sorry for their dog. Their dog caused a $22,000 hospital bill, a $1,000 vet bill, and a deranged, delusional old man killing two people. So no one should feel sorry for the dog. But the dog was euthanized at request of Sandra Delserro 2 days after Guy and Harper Hansman were murdered. Monique Hansman made clear that she holds Sandra Delserro as well as Ronald Delserro responsible for the string of incidents preceding the murders, with considerable reason, as the courtroom transcriptions eventually made clear. Ronald Delserro suffered from diagnosed dementia, yet Sandra Delserro allowed him to keep guns in every room of their home and in their car. We constantly had to hide from them, Monique Hansman recounted. We hid for months. We lived like prisoners in our own home, and then Ronald Delserro murdered them, all over a $500 fine and a requirement to put up signs on the fence saying a dog was dangerous. Monique would later go on to say, and I quote, he murdered my husband and child over $500 and a sign. And I feel Monique's pain. That is just an awful, awful thing to do. And I feel no sympathy for Sandra that her husband died of suicide because he was a coward after he killed an 11-year-old girl and a defenseless man who was working in his shed, and he wasn't prepared for what happened to him. So I don't feel sorry for Ronald Delserro. He gets no sympathy from me because he had dementia and depression. When I have depression, do you see me go shoot and kill people? No, you don't. So I don't have any sympathy for that delusional old man who should have died before this even happened. All right. So here are my thoughts on this case. This case could have been prevented, number one, if the Delserros did their responsibilities as United States citizens and paid the fine as imposed by the judge, and they put up the sign as imposed by the judge, a simple sign saying you got a dangerous dog on your property. This all could have been prevented, and likely it would have ended there if they paid the $500 fine and they put up that dangerous dog sign on their property. But unfortunately, a delusional man who isn't thinking rationally decides he's going to take matters into his own hands in a battle which he could never win, and he went and shot a defenseless man, a defenseless 11-year-old girl. It's just a sick, sick case. Now, I saw this case on Fear Thy Neighbor on ID Discovery, and I said, you know what? I got to talk about this case on my crime show On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, because I love dogs, but I know that some of these aggressive dogs, they do attack. And I know how the owners of these aggressive dogs react. They always blame the victim. 9 times out of 10, every time someone gets attacked by an aggressive dog, the aggressive dog owner tries to always blame the victim. And that is what happened in this case. And 9 times out of 10, the aggressive dog owners, they refuse to work with the United States government and the court system, which is why I think stronger laws should be enforced when it comes to aggressive dog breeds like pit bulls, Rottweilers, Mastiffs, etc. Because unless something changes, more and more dogs, more and more people going to be attacked by these aggressive dogs. And we're going to see more cases like this one, where the aggressive dog owner fails to realize that his dog initiated the attack, and he should be really sorry that someone got injured and a dog also got injured, and he caused the victim to pay $23,000 for hospital and vet bills. So in this case, it just proves that aggressive dog owners can be bad people and as aggressive as their dogs as well. This case also proves that what I've believed for a long time, some old people are really deranged, and some old people are really sick in the head, and some people do suffer from dementia and depression. And when they have severe bouts of dementia and depression, they really do belong in a nursing home. But that's just my personal thoughts on this case. Feel free to share your personal thoughts on this case in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Maybe I've been a bit harsh on the perpetrator. Who knows? But that's my thoughts on this horrific crime. All right, I want to thank you guys for watching this week's episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. I hope you learned all about this case. Now, if you want to learn some more information on this case, go to your on-demand section of your cable provider, Xfinity, etc. Go on demand and look for Fear Thy Neighbor, and you'll find this episode. It is from this year's season, the 2022 season, and you'll find all the information, and you can watch that episode on Fear Thy Neighbor. All right, so on the next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, I want to talk about another crime that is very serious, and that is robberies. We've talked about mass shootings here on the Case. We've talked about murders like this one here on the Case. But now we're going to talk about robberies. And we're going old school, way old school on the next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. I think we're heading back into the early 1900s. We're going to talk about one of the most famous robbers in America history. One of the most famous robbers in the United States of America history. And he is known as Edward Adams. He robbed a bank and he shot and killed some police officers. So on the next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, learn all about Edward Adams. So I want to thank you guys for watching this week's edition of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. If you are a new viewer, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Legendary Alex Cardinale. Thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Remember, if you see something suspicious, report it and call 911. Don't ever be afraid to say something. See something, say something. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much for watching.